Okay, so I'm going to get right into this because we're talking today about how you can actually set up a simple marketing process. So I was just speaking to one of my members of my community, and she was saying that she's been able to get some really good reviews online on Google. And I think if you're watching this now and you don't have a process for reviews, I would definitely encourage you to look at how you can actually attract reviews at the end of your course, at the end of your event, at the end of preparing something for someone, making someone something. Always try and capture reviews when you can and share those reviews. And whether it's in writing, whether it's via an email that you send out in a newsletter, whether it's via you copying and pasting what they said, or even doing a video or audio, try to share reviews because that acts as social proof. Today, I'm going to actually talk a little bit about how to manage a simple marketing process that I know will definitely help you if you're in business and you're really unsure at the moment of how to do a marketing plan. This is like a very simple process that you can follow. And I would say as well that if you're not already planning, and it's now at the time of me recording this video, it's now August. Today's a good day to start thinking about what you're doing in terms of your plans. Okay, so it's not to scare anyone, it's just to be realistic about what you're doing and help you along your way. So, the first thing I'm going to say is if you are trying to do your marketing, you want to have a goal you're working towards. And lots of us are doing marketing and we're not actually thinking about why am I doing this activity? Why am I posting online? Why am I recording a video every day? Why am I going to networking events? Why am I coordinating, this brochure and distributing it to community centers? So the why is really important. What is it you're trying to achieve and why? Okay. And you've got to look at the resources that you've got to actually execute your marketing as well. So when you're building a process of marketing, you need to be clear of why you're doing what you're doing, but the resources you've got available to do it. Okay. Also, you want to be thinking about your messaging. So if you're going to develop a simple process, think about what you're going to be saying along the way. At the minute, I'm working with a client who's got a festival coming up, and the festival that they're doing is next year. And I actually asked the committee, if you're doing this festival, why would somebody want to come? Because that's effectively the message. Why would somebody want to come to your festival over somebody else's? So think about your messaging in terms of the end user or the person that's going to buy the product or service. Think about what it is you're communicating online and offline and in person. And also, through like pre-recorded videos, webinars, because the messaging is very important. You have to be able to convey to someone what it is they're going to get or achieve or experience when they invest in your product or service. And if it's a tangible product, it's even easier to show them than it would be if it's an intangible product and it's a service. So think about your messaging. And if you're not really sure on that, I think that is definitely something I would say as part of your process, you might want to consider developing, because the messaging is what you use to communicate, and the communication that you deliver is what actually helps you to sell and or educate people about what it is you do. All right, so make sure you think about your objectives, make sure you think about the resources you've got, and also think about your messaging as well, and then think about your distribution channels. So if at the moment you're not really sure beyond Instagram and Facebook, for example, where to communicate what you're doing, I would absolutely recommend that you think about how you are communicating the message that you've just developed. Yeah, are you going to do it through schools? Are you going to do it through workplaces? Are you going to go to voluntary groups? Are you going to go to mums and parenting groups? Are you going to go to business networking events? What are the channels of communication that you are going to place your messaging on? Now, if you use social media a lot, that's a channel of communication, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's, Threads. If you actually have a message on social media, the content is the message, and social media platform is the channel or vehicle of communication. So if you are building out a marketing process, you want to be thinking about your messaging in terms of what am I saying on what platform. That's the easiest way I could recommend that you do that. And then think about your content. So content could be online and offline. A lot of us restrict ourselves to thinking about content as being, an audio or a carousel or a reel. And actually, content is way more than that. Content could be a book. Content could be a speaking engagement. Content could be a podcast. Content could be you going out and delivering a presentation. It doesn't have to be something related to social media. So again, when we're talking about messaging, when we're talking about vehicles or channels of communication, you need to be thinking as well about content and where that content's going to sit, right? So if you're communicating online a lot, your content that you're communicating online is the messaging usually, okay? And that message could be physical, it could be electronic, it could be in person, it could be done through the phone, it could be a number of ways, but content is content, okay? So make sure that when you're building out your marketing process, you think about what it is you're saying, and then think about how you're going to promote it. So once you've posted that video, or once you've shared that ebook, or once you've created that talk, or you've done that interview, you need to think about how you're going to promote that. Because a lot of you get stuck at, okay, I'm just going to promote the one time that I did this video. I'm just going to share the one recording or that one clip of the interview. When actually, you should be constantly sharing that same thing. And a lot of us chase sharing new stuff, always wanting to create the new video, always wanting to do the new post. But actually, if you repurpose your content that you've already done that's been successful with a new graphic or with a new caption, that's just as good. Sometimes you don't need to keep reinventing or rather renewing new stuff. You could literally just repurpose what you've already got. So when you're building out your marketing process, think about what you've already got. Think about the channels that you could promote that on. And think about your audience and the resources like money, people, team, who you can delegate to if you can't do it yourself. But also make sure you're thinking about the messaging. It's very important. And that all of that has to be aligned to your overarching marketing goal. So if you have got a goal, you can let me know in the chat what your goal might be. It could be to get 15 people to sign up to your Facebook group. It could be to launch your website and get 10 visitors on your website within the first 15 minutes. What is your marketing goal? I would love to know. And then you've got to measure. So your really simple process is thinking about how are you going to track the success of what it is you're doing? Because if you haven't thought about, okay, once I've done this podcast and shared it 20 times, once I've gone out and spoken at this event and, taken up 15 business cards, how are you going to track the success of what it is you're doing? Because, 15 business cards and, a few people, new followers, but what does that actually look like in terms of results? So there has to be a way to measure your success. And this is how you actually evaluate your marketing. And then finally, something that some of us feel a little bit anxious about is when you've looked at the measurements, which should always be aligned to where you were trying to do something for your marketing goals to be successful. Your measurement should qualify whether or not your marketing goals have been achieved. But also you have to take away lessons learned. This is something that a lot of people struggle with. So thinking about lessons learned, if you've done a campaign and it's in your eyes it's flopped, or you've done an event and you only had 3 attendees instead of 30, or you've done a retreat and it hasn't sold out, there'll be lessons you can learn from that. All right. Every single business owner can learn lessons from marketing, even when it's been positive, even when it's been really good, there's lessons that can be learned. So in a nutshell, there are very simple ways to develop your marketing. And today I've just shared a few of those. Make sure you think about your goals, set your budget, allocate your resources, think about your messaging. Make sure you've got a very clear idea of the content you're going to share and how you're going to share that. And even beyond the content, the physical stuff. What is it you're going to do in terms of like offline in particular? Because a lot of us ignore offline. And then make sure you've thought about, how you're going to track and measure your success and how you're actually going to document what it was you found really useful, or what you learned, or what didn't work, and what you might do differently, because that will get you into a rhythm. And once you get into the habit of developing your marketing in that way for each project or a campaign you're working on, it will help you to actually strive for results. Yeah. So if you're watching here, you can let me know if you've got any questions. And if you're watching here, you can let me know if you've got any questions. If there's something you're working on at the moment, maybe you don't have a process yet. Maybe you're thinking of ways to develop some kind of campaign or launch. Please do ask me via the chat if you've got any questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer. And if there aren't any questions, then I will jump off of the live. But I think one of the final things I would say and share is that a lot of us are very busy doing marketing and very busy being occupied with online activities. I think one thing I would share today is don't become so obsessed and absorbed in social media that you forget the importance of offline. Um, I'm working on another event, doing some marketing for an event this year. And, there are lots of different things you could do in your business to promote your business. But as a basic, having banners, having business cards, having, a floor standing banner, having, physical leaflets, having electronic leaflets, having QR codes, having scannable brochures. When you click the QR code, it goes through to, your electronic brochure. These are the kinds of things that people don't always consider. And yeah, a lot of people know about QR codes now, and a lot of people have got business cards that are QR codes, but actually that price list, that leaflet, that media pack, yeah, that brochure, all of that can go onto a QR code. So there's lots of innovative ways. I don't even think QR codes are innovative anymore, but there are lots of ways in which you can develop your marketing to benefit you working on a budget, if you are working on a budget. But if you've got a budget, then I would definitely recommend that you think about how you're allocating it, because a lot of us are spending lots of money and not actually thinking about where the expense is going and what return we're getting back. And marketing has to make sense. I don't care if you're only posting online. What it might feel like to you is just, oh, I'm just posting a post. I'm just going to do a post. I'm just going to do a post on Instagram. But actually, if you count up how many posts you've done and you haven't had back any traction, no leads, no inquiries, nobody's even engaging really. If that is the case for some of you, then there's a challenge there. And if you're someone who hasn't posted in a while, I would also consider, whether or not that's something you can sustain, because social media is not the only way to market your business. So I'm not going to sit here and say that you have to do social media. But what I will say is certainly the way that Instagram's going with Google Console and all of the search engine optimization and the AEO stuff, it would be in your interest actually to maintain social media so that you can still come up in the search. And yeah, you can do pay per click, you can do ads, you can do, paid advertising, but social media is free. And if you are strategic enough and you understand how to use it, and then you've got a way to track how people have found out about your business, you'll be able to reap the rewards of being on social media. So have a think about that. It's not the only way to market your business, but if you are going to use it, make sure that you are actually using it to your advantage and tracking your success. All right, so that's it. Marketing with a process, and making sure you understand what it is you're doing. So if you've got any questions, let me know. You're about to teach, okay, no worries. And yeah, you can send yours to me, no problem. Do let me know if you have any questions. If you watch on the replay, let me know that you watched and where you're watching from. And yeah, I think it's important. More of us need to be doing marketing planning, because I think a lot of people are doing marketing, and some people don't even realize it's marketing that they are doing. I've had people say, oh yeah, I'm going to networking events, but that's marketing. Is it in a plan? How many events do you go to? What outcomes do you get from going to those events? Who have you met? When you met that person, then what happened? So evaluation of marketing can be something as basic as, I went to 3 marketing events in July. Out of those 3 events, 2 were really great. I made 15 contacts. And out of the 15 contacts, I emailed 11 of them. And out of the 11 that I emailed, 2 of them want face-to-face meetings. That's how you can track marketing. Let me know with a thumbs up if that made sense. It's something as simple as that when I'm talking about tracking. I'm not talking about data and analytics and charts and tables if you don't want to do that. But it doesn't have to be complex. And hopefully that example relayed that to you. So thank you so much for watching over on YouTube. And I will come back to you soon and go live again with some more tips. Bye for now.